Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to learn about the relationship between watts and decibels when we're talking about amplifiers and audio signals and that kind of stuff. Okay, so where's my colors at? Let's change this to black. Okay, so we've got watts and we've got decibels. Let's Okay, so watts is the amount of energy going into the amplifier, and decibels is the amount of sound that's coming out of it. Okay, so we have a matrix here that helps to calculate all these things. Okay, so let's say I have 1 watt. Let's say I have 1 watt. And let's say 1 watt is putting out 1 decibel. Okay, that's barely audible, but whatever. Okay, so whatever your starting point is, you take these numbers and you put them right here in the middle. Okay, so right here I have 1 watt and 1 decibel. Okay, now every time that I double the wattage, so if I move to the right over here, it is going to, so I doubled it, now I have 2 watts, it is going to add 3 dB. So it's 1 plus 3, I now have 4 decibels. Okay, and then if I double the wattage again, now I will have 4 watts. This is kind of confusing, the times 4, that's referring to the start point, but every time I move to the right, I times it by 2. Okay, so that's 4 watts and plus 6, so what's 4 plus 3 more is 7 dB. Okay, now if I multiply the energy by 10, that means I'm going to move up. So let's say I move up on this matrix. What's 4 times 10? That is 40. So now I have 40 watts. And what is 7 plus 10? That's 17. 17 decibels. Okay. So now I have gone from 1 decibel to 17, and from 1 watt to 40 watts. So that means I have 16 decibels of gain. Okay, 17 minus 1 is 16. I have gained 16 decibels, and I have multiplied my wattage by 40. Okay, let's try this again. Let's just select all, delete. Okay, so what if I have an amplifier, a 40 watt amplifier? Okay, that's the maximum watts it can put out. Let's say my guitar signal coming into the amplifier is 1 watt. Okay, 1 watt is going into the amp, and then 40 watts is coming out. Okay, so I'm starting here with 1 watt. So how do I get to 40? Okay, well, I double it twice. So now I have 2 watts, now I have 4 watts, and then I times that by 10. Okay, so now I'm at 40 watts. And how much gain in decibels have I gotten? 3, 6, 16. Okay, now what if my amp is, what if I've got a 100 watt amp? Okay, let's delete this. if I have a 100-watt amp, start here at 1. So I'm putting 1 watt into the amplifier and it is boosting it 100 watts. Okay, so I go here times 10 times 10 again. So that means I have gained 100 watts, I have gained 20 decibels. So what's the difference between a 40-watt amp and a 100-watt amp? Remember, 40 watts was 16 decibels. 100 watts is 20 decibels. So for the amount of energy you're putting in, you're not gaining all that much actual sound, right? How much more does a 100-watt amp cost compared to a 40-watt amp? It's a lot more. So these are all things to be thinking about when you're looking at your speakers. Let's talk about speaker sensitivity too. Okay, let's delete all this. Okay, so let's say I have a speaker that has a sensitivity rating of 90 dB sensitivity. So what that means is with 1 watt it will put out 90 dB. Oops. So you put 1 watt into the speaker and it puts out 90 dB of audio signal. So what this means is if you run an amplifier, what if we put 80 watts into the speaker? Okay, so here's 1 watt and here's 90 dB. Okay, 1 watt, 90. So 90 plus 0 is 90. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so what if my amp is 80 watts? How do I get to 80 from here? Move 1 to the right, move another to the right. So I move to the right 3 times, okay? And then so that'll get us to 8 watts, and then I move up once, because that times it by 10. So here we're at 2, 4, 8, 80. 80 watts. So how many decibels have I gained? I'm starting at 90, plus 3, 6, 9. So now I'm at 99, then plus 10, 109. 109 dBs. Okay, that's loud. That's really loud. 120 is threshold of pain, so you're not going to want it much louder than that. What if we had twice the amp? What if our amp was 160 watts? How many dBs are we going to get there? Well, we double it one more time over here, so now we are 80 times 2 is 160. 109 plus 3 is what? 112. Okay? So every time that you double the energy, you gain 3 decibels. Let's try it with some smaller fractions. One last thing. Okay. What if I have, what if my signal is 200, oops, I shouldn't have a decimal there. What if it's 250 milliwatts? Okay. Let's say that's my beginning signal. My sound coming out of my electric guitar is 250 milliwatts, and I run it through an amp that has, let's say, can we get to 200 watts? Okay, let's say boost that from 250 milliwatts to 200 watts. Well, how many milliwatts are in 1 watt? 1000 milliwatts equals 1 watt. So we are at 1/4 of a watt, right? Which would put us right here. Okay, so if I'm starting at 1/4 of a watt, how do I get to 200 watts? Times it by 2 to 0.5. Times it by 2 again, now I'm at 1. Times it by 2 again, now I'm at 2. And then I times 2 by 10. So now I'm at 20. Times it by 10 again, now I'm at 200. Okay? So let's say, how many dBs have I gained here? So this is where it's a little bit tricky since we're starting over here. So how many times did I move to the right? I moved here, so that's plus 3. I moved here, plus 3. Moved here, plus 3. Okay, so that's 9 dB. 1, 3, 6, 9. And then I moved up twice. That's plus 10 and plus 10 again. So that's 9 plus 20 is 29 dB of gain by going through this amplifier. Okay, so I hope this helps you in figuring out watts and decibels and how they interact with each other, and I hope it also helps practically when you're thinking about which kind of speakers to buy and how usually sensitivity comes a lot cheaper than watts do. So if you can choose between a speaker that's if your speaker sensitivity is 90 dB and costs, I don't know, $100, or you can get a speaker that is 83 dB and costs $70. This is all hypothetical. I don't know what the real prices are. Okay, so let's say I have both of these speakers. How much is it going to cost to get it to, if I wanted to get it to 110 dB? You know, here I'm saving 30 bucks, but how many watts will it take to get from 90 dB to 110? So if I'm starting here at 90 and I want to get to 110, like that, I'm going to need a 200 watt amp. Okay, if I'm starting at 83 and I want to get to 110, what's that going to cost? So 83, how do I get to 110 from here? I don't know if you can exactly, but we'll get close. So here's 86, 89, plus 10 at 99. And how many watts is that going to take? Oh, that's not close. 99, one more time. Okay, that's 109. How many watts is that going to take us? 400 watts. Okay, so you look online and find the difference between a 200 watt amp and a 400 watt amp, and I guarantee you it is more than 30 bucks. But again, I don't know what what the real price is between these. So that's worth looking into.